Okay.
Okay, just to go over the hearing then again, that happened last week on the 3rd of April. One of the matters discussed in that hearing was how members of the public would get to and from what is used as the station platform here at Out the Breck. The sheriff in the hearing remembered Ian saying in a previous hearing that we've never prevented members of the public from exercising their right to use the pedestrian public right of way here. We went on to explain to the sheriff that the established route for members of the public to access and egress the platform is for foot pedestrians only and is via our side gate, which you can see here now, and travelling northwards over our driveway to the land that is being used as the platform. Sheriff Wilson stated that if that is the established route that has always been used for members of the public to access and egress the station platform, then that will be the route used. And that was the sheriff's decision, that the established right of way here at Out the Breck would not change. At this point, Network Rail's solicitor for Brodie's tried to get the sheriff to include in his decision for Network Rail and Scotrail workers to use the pedestrian gate and the public right of way to access the station. But the sheriff refused her request, and he told her that that is a matter that can be reserved for another time. So the final decision of the sheriff was that the established public right of way would be used, and that would be used by only members of the public. And that's what we agreed to. That was what the end result of that hearing was. The next day, we received what's called an Interluca, which is a document that records the decision of the sheriff in a hearing. And upon reading that document, we were concerned immediately because the wording of that Interluca did not accurately reflect the precise terms that were agreed by us and accepted by the sheriff in that hearing last week. The Interluca used these words instead of our words and the sheriff's words. The Interluca reads, "Pursuers gave an undertaking to the court that they will not prevent pedestrians using the established right of way to and from the railway platform." As soon as we saw that, alarm bells rang, because the word pedestrians obviously is extremely wide and ambiguous, and we were very concerned that that could be exploited by Network Rail and Scotrail to apply to their workers. And the term member of the public was not even included in the Interluca. Then on the 7th of April, the following Monday, we get a letter from the head of legal for Scotrail, which we would describe as a threatening letter to us, which again is another example of how unreasonable Network Rail and Scotrail are being in this dispute. I'm going to quote some of that letter to you, what was sent to us by the head of legal for Scotrail. And I quote from this letter: "I understand that an undertaking has been given to the court that there will be no prevention of pedestrians using the established right of way for access to and egress from the station. For the avoidance of doubt, this will include Scotrail employees, contractors and agents. We will report any attempts to prevent access to the station to the appropriate authorities and to Network Rail to bring to the attention of the court." I end quotes there. So as you can see, everyone, no sooner as that Interluca had been sent to us, Scotrail jumped on the wording and have exploited it just like we predicted they would. And we received a threatening, which we regard as a threatening letter by the head of legal, Scotrail, threatening us that if we attempted to prevent access or refuse access to Scotrail workers, their contractors or agents, they would refer us to the appropriate authorities. Now, we know what they mean when they use that term. They mean the British Transport Police. Scotrail are threatening us with the police again for a civil matter. This is unreasonable and unnecessarily contentious behaviour by Scotrail, which is unacceptable. Like Ian said, we're doing our best to resolve this dispute in a reasonable manner by utilising the civil court process, which is the right way to deal with a dispute of this nature. But Scotrail and Network Rail continue to behave in a way that the court system doesn't even exist, and it's not required and doesn't apply to them. So it's just to give you another example of what Ian mentioned before about the court order that was issued to do with Network Rail surveyors coming onto our land. When that court order is imprecise and ambiguous, it leaves open a situation that we now find ourselves in. And Scotrail and Network Rail are quite readily quick to exploit the imprecise wording of this Interluca by what they've done today.
Are you?
Yeah.
Can I have a quick word, please?
In regards to?
Well, I'm the owner. I live here. My name's Ian Appleby. I just want to have a quick word with you in regards to the last hearing in Wick Sheriff Court.
Pleased to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. So the last hearing we had with Neil Wilson, Sheriff Neil Wilson, in the court, he decided that the public pedestrian footpath was not to be used for commercial use, and it was not to be used by Scotrail or Network Rail until this dispute is sorted out. Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay.
I've been instructed that we have right of access to the station, either at the side of your driveway or the new path.
Well, that's what's requested. That's the solicitor acting on behalf of Network Rail.
I don't know any
Okay,
of this.
so she requested that in the hearing. The sheriff rejected that. So, just to let you know,
Right.
you know, okay, I'm not going to come out and be contentious with you. I'm just coming out to let you know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, because we're trying to deal with this through the courts, and we're trying to deal with it reasonably.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
Like
yeah,
I say,
so,
I'm not party to any of that. That's not within my remit.
okay.
I've just been instructed that we've got right of access onto the platform, either there or there. We're just coming on to do some maintenance on the station.
The specific wording that the sheriff agreed to was that the footpath for public to use the public footpath, pedestrian access, was through the side gate up along our driveway here.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not permitted to be used, that new path that's been installed at all. That was another thing that was requested by the defenders, Network Rail and their solicitor, but that was rejected by the sheriff, just as it was rejected by the sheriff for it to be used commercially to access our land at the moment while the dispute's ongoing. That's either by any Network Rail, Scotrail or any contractors. The only thing that was allowed by the sheriff was for the public pedestrian footpath to be used by the public.
Right. Well, that's not what's been conveyed to me, instructed to me. So, like I say, any more than that, I don't know anything about this at all.
Okay.
I know there's a standoff, there's a situation, but that's all I know. It's above my pay grade, as I say.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you from?
Yes.
Okay. You're based down in
Inverness.
Inverness. Oh, you're in Inverness, are you? Okay.
So this is my guys that do the maintenance.
I know one. Yeah.
So I'm up to come here today, and I'm going to Wick, and I'm going to other ones as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
I was going to Wick and that, but I've had a puncture on the way in, so
right,
that's me
Yeah.
dubbed for
You
today.
recording us today?
Yeah,
then?
sorry, yes.
You're recording
yes,
us. Okay.
yes.
Where do I? Who's the data controller?
That I don't know. I would have to get
Right.
that to you. I don't know.
Okay. Because of what's going on, I do need to request my data.
Well, if
for
you submit
today,
your
then.
request through the normal channels through Scotrail,
Yeah, but you're meant to tell me who that is through GDPR. You see.
right, I'll need to get back to you on that one. I'm
Okay.
not sure exactly.
Right. You don't know.
Honestly, I just don't
Yeah.
know that.
Okay.
You're recording as well.
I am, but I'm
Yes.
not regulated by GDPR. I'm just
no.
a member of the public. Yeah.
Just been-
Yeah. Just. Do you know how
Right.
GDPR works?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. That's it. So I'm just recording for. Basically, for our own protection of our defences and just to gather evidence,
Yeah,
basically what's
that's-
going on the land here,
That's
you know.
totally up to you.
So yeah. What are you intending on doing here today?
Well, I was just going to explain. We're going to be hopefully putting a lick of paint on the shelter.
Yeah.
Just looking at the other assets as well, but we're also tasked today with taking obstacles away from that path.
Oh right.
Yes.
Oh, you're doing that as well, are you?
Yeah, that's what
right.
we've been told
Okay.
to do
Well,
to make sure, in health and safety regards, it's safe for anyone to use the station.
Right. So that seems like there's a lot going against what was decided in the court then when we were last there. So it seems like Scotrail are sort of overriding what the sheriff's decided to me.
Well, that would be your opinion.
Well, it's what was said in the hearing.
Again, I'm not party to any of that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. So I'm just letting you know that now. So.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So that's what happened.
And
in
I'm
the
being
hearing.
upfront with you as well. That's what we've been tasked to do today. So that's
Yeah.
what we'll be doing.
So that's what you'll be doing. You'll be removing. You'll be using the pathway.
Whatever. I haven't had. I just had a glance just now when I came in.
Yeah.
So we're going back, and I saw the sort of fence structure.
Just have a quick look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, just whatever's there, just to put it to the side
Okay.
of the path.
So just so you know, that's our property. That fence is our property.
we'll be safe and take it apart.
Sorry.
We'll be safe when we take it apart.
Yeah, but we don't want it taken apart.
Well, do you want to take it apart yourself first?
We're happy with it where it is at the moment, to be honest.
Well, we have to take it apart.
Okay, so you're doing it anyway, right?
So people can gain that safe access to the
Yeah. Okay.
station.
So that is not it's actually not a permitted route of access. You know, we're not going to obstruct you. We're not going to argue with you.
Okay.
You've come here. You know, you're fairly adamant about what you're going to do anyway.
This is what we've been tasked to do.
It's what you've been told to do. So, you know, I've come out and let you know what the court said, what the sheriff said. You know, so I'm just going to retract now and withdraw and just let you get on with it.
Okay, I find.
And then we'll
Appreciate that.
let the court know what's happened here today.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks
Take care
very
then.
much.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
My name's Elizabeth.
It's my wife. This is.
Sorry, what? Recording there,
Yeah.
we just need to convey some legal information. No,
As I
please.
explained, I've got nothing to do with that at all.
I understand that you've been sent here to do work, but it's obviously our duty to impart information to you because you are on private land at the moment. This area of land that you're going to do work on at the moment isn't owned by Network Rail. It's just so you know, so you can't be you
I'm
can't
here
say.
to do work, guys. That's all.
It's just so you know, so you can't be you can't say that we haven't told you. So you are now.
Just letting you know.
Scotrail employees are now going to do work on land that Scotrail do not have a right to work on because Network Rail do not own this land. We own the land, so you will be trespassing, and if you do work on our land without our permission, you will be committing damage also. Do you understand that?
I'll take on board what you've said.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
we had to inform
we
you.
do actually have court documentation from Network Rail solicitors confirming what we just said about that land, just so you know.
Yeah.
So we are.
I appreciate the position you're taking, but I'm under instruction. We are under instruction to come today to carry out normal maintenance
Yeah.
duties.
We just want to make it clear. We understand you've been sent by anybody
Scotland.
senior. Is anybody senior who's senior at Scotrail that's overseeing this?
Overseeing this? No,
yeah.
it's just me. This is part of that's part of our normal roster for this.
Who are
station.
you liaising with at Network Rail? Have you got a contact person?
Sorry.
Who are you liaising with Network Rail to do with the work on this land, do you have a contact name for Network Rail?
Network Rail, no.
Oh, okay.
So nobody senior above you is involved in what's happening here out in the Breck?
Not specifically, as in.
Is there somebody senior?
What about
who's
the
aware?
legal team then? Have the legal team been in touch with you, said, or?
Over weeks and months.
Is somebody senior at Scotrail aware of what's happening out on the Breck? And if there are, who is that person, please?
I can't speak to other people to know that they know about what's going on here.
Are you speaking to people more senior to you about what's happening out on the Breck?
Just my manager to say.
And who's your manager? What's he called or she called?
Okay. Because we did actually write to Scotrail legal team, didn't we, a few days ago?
We've written to the head of legal club.
About the access.
This is we.
Yeah, what we're going to do, we're going to withdraw now, but I just thought it was very important
Just to let you know.
for you to know, because you're responsible as an individual yourself, that I know you've been sent out to do work, but you've accessed private land without the right to do so. Scotrail do not have a right to access our land, and you're now on our land undertaking work without a right to do so, because Network Rail do not own the land.
And it's on disputed land which is running due course in a court that hasn't been decided by a sheriff yet. The last thing the sheriff decided was that, as I just said to you, Mr. was that the sheriff had decided that Network Rail and Scotrail were not allowed to access our land using the pedestrian gate and the public footpath, is what was decided. So we were a bit shocked, to be honest, that Scotrail are going against the decision of the court and the sheriff.
Am I correct in saying that Ian informed me that Scotrail have removed our fence and gate?
That's what they're intending to do, Liz. They're intending to remove it.
Spars at the start of the new path that goes in round to the other end.
Our
of the platform.
gate, our fence. Our fence.
Which any of our property, if you remove our property without our permission, would constitute trespass and damage. You do know that, Mr.
That's your position. That's
But you're still going to remove it.
Yeah, we have to leave this in a safe.
Okay, just so you know that's what will be happening, and obviously we'll deal with that in the proper way.
And just to you explained to me earlier that you're painting the shelter, is it?
Yes.
And what else are you doing? Sorry.
Just looking at the bends, other sort of assets on the platform. Doesn't need any devegetation yet. I don't think so.
Right.
We'll be taking photos of the assets and that type of stuff. That's just general station maintenance.
Okay. Is it just
withdrawn
yourself who's recording on your
No,
body
that
wall?
my colleagues have got their cameras on.
So it's 3 cameras recording all together.
One per person.
Okay,
Right.
so we'll be requesting that data.
Yeah, I've said
that's
that,
being
yeah,
recorded.
yeah.
We've got we've got the contact information for the data
Right.
protection
Oh, you have
officer.
that, right? Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
Gone against the court. We put this fence up because that is on disputed land. There we go. That's being used as well. There's Scotrail using a new path that was rejected by the sheriff when Network Rail solicitors requested that they use it. That was rejected by the sheriff, but there you go, they're coming in doing whatever they like, and they're also threatening to take down our property, which is this fence. So they're a law unto themselves. Our fence has every right to be here, you know. They're coming here building on disputed land. Land that we own. We put a fence up to prevent an access route that's been put coming on to our registered title. You can't just go around putting new rights of way on someone's registered title wherever you like. It's just not the way it's done. That is not a public right of way right there. That is not the established public right of way, and that should not be used. This path was put on this land unlawfully. Taking photos of everything, trying to get prescriptive claims on the land. They've done this before. Scotrail about what they were going to do here. They did threaten to pull down the fence that we put up there, but we told them it's our property and they had no right to do so. They were adamant that they were going to do it, but they've just left and they haven't done that. But still, they've entered the property unlawfully. It's not a commercial right of way. They've come and they've worked on the station, done some work on the station, and they've basically just left. So, I mean, what's the point of the whole court process? If, you know, everyone says we're unreasonable. I've tried to be as reasonable as possible today, just to save all these fake, false accusations, accusing us of all sorts of things. I'd like to see how anyone else would behave if this was your house and if you were being treated like this. We're standing up for what is right. We're standing up for our property rights. We're trying to do things in a court of law. But it's starting to feel like going to the court of law has actually undermined our rights, because the only judgments that seem to be made are against us. The only orders that seem to be made are against us. We tried to get a court order or an injunction to prevent this from happening, because all that's happening from this last decision in court is it's just leading to more intimidation upon us. Now, what's happened is pretty much the same as what happened when the court order was made for the surveyor to come here. The writing on the Interluca did not reflect the decision by the court, or the solicitor's letter, which was to come and survey our registered boundaries. The Interluca just said for the surveyor to survey the property, which is just wide open. Now, they've done exactly the same thing with the decision that was made on the 3rd, which the decision being that only members of the public were able to access the platform via this side gate, not the cattle grid, and they were to use the established right of way that went from this gate along the side of our driveway up towards what is used as the platform. That was discussed in length, and that is what was decided. But unfortunately, once more, we seem to be led into a bit of a trap, really. So the Interluca should have said for members of the public to use the pedestrian public right of way. That's what it should have said, because that's what is agreed. But what was written on the Interluca, once again, was pedestrians. It just said pedestrians. So that's allowed it now to be exploited by Scotrail and Network Rail, which I'm leaning towards maybe that was the plan. So I'm not very happy about that. Okay, and that's because we weren't very happy about that. Elizabeth has lodged a motion with Wick Sheriff Court. That motion is the hearing's going to be on Wednesday, the 16th of April. We do invite everyone to come and watch and see what's going on. We will put links into the description for Wick Sheriff Court and the case number. All you need to do is email Wick Sheriff Court and request a WebEx link for that case number. So thank you, everyone. Please like and subscribe. We appreciate your support. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.